How's everybody doing? Where's your next trip to? I'm in Bolivia right now. I'm not a big fan of Bolivia, if I'm gonna be honest, as of now. I've only been here for a couple days, but I think it needs to grow up and mature a little bit before it can become a big boy travel destination. You know what I mean? Um, I've been getting scammed a lot when I've been doing my pedidos. So, if you guys don't know, in South America, there's a food delivery app called Pedidos Ja, right? And with Pedidos, you can basically, it's like DoorDash, right? But one of the benefits of it is that you can pay in cash, but one of the problems is that if you order something in cash, the person, especially if you order groceries, what's gonna happen is, let's say you're spending like 30 bucks on groceries, right? Well, the guy is the one who goes to the store and picks out your groceries. So what they do a lot of the time is they'll literally go forget to buy some stuff. You don't realize it because you have this whole bag of groceries, right? And then they're like, you know, by the time you realize that they didn't buy the groceries they wanted, it's already over, right? You already paid for the groceries. So I'm trying to figure out how to get around that. Um, you know, no. Um, anyway, do we have any questions, guys? I know this is later than I typically go live, but does really no one have any questions about travel? Any place that you're going? Anywhere that you want to go? Mark's back on the chat. How's it going, Mark? My wife's asleep right now, so I decided to just go back live. I'm gonna be adding Twitch to the lives as well. So, um, why am I live? Addicted to the game, man. Addicted to the game. No, I quit. So I quit my job last week in order to do this full time. So, one, I'm trying to sell these packages, but two, I'm just trying to be able to monetize lives as well. So I'm gonna be grinding. I'm gonna be going live constantly over the course of the next few months. The reason why I haven't really been that active in the past week is I got really sick, and I've just got over like the sickness. Thanks, Pickle Rick. I just got over the sickness that I was like being like hampered by. So, right now I'm feeling energetic. I'm feeling ready, and let's make 2026 our bitch, you know what I mean? So, I don't know what words I'm allowed to say on TikTok or not. Thanks for the roses, Pickle Rick. Do I feel bad about? I don't get as many notices when people give roses anymore. Now that I'm doing the TikTok live studio, so I feel like I'm not being appreciative enough for that. So, but I was trying to say that like I appreciate you, Pickle Rick. I appreciate all of your support as well. One thing I find funny is that there'll be people who like will come to my lives, and I don't want to get on a whole rant about this, but people will come to my lives and just be like, "Hey, man, I've been a fan of yours for a while, but you're like selling out and stuff." I'm like, that's weird because like there are a lot of fans that I know very well, like Pickle Rick. I didn't know him. He's been or her, him or her has been a fan of mine for a long time. I recognize you. Anyway, Mark Line, I'm in Guyana right now. Very safe, very good parks and women love gringos. Recommended for you, Paulie. I'm married now, but Guyana, I think I made a video a few weeks ago saying that Guyana is probably the best place to go pick up women in Brazil as of now. And so Mark just confirmed what we said. Um, and the reason why is because Belo Horizonte, Belo Horizonte is kind of a tier two city, but the problem is that it's become Belo Horizonte has become too famous as a tier two city, making it kind of like a tier one and a half city. Where it's not a full tier one city like Medellin or Rio de Janeiro or whatever, but it's become so famous as like the place that you should go that no one else is going, that now so many people are going there that you no longer have that effect. That's what I've been hearing from a lot of people who've been going to Belo Horizonte. Um, so what I've heard, and Mark just confirmed it, is that Guyana is basically what Belo Horizonte used to be, and Guyana is right next to Belo Horizonte too. So it's not like it's completely different. Um, Also, Guyana as well has a reputation for having the hottest women in Brazil. Other Brazilians all say that Guyana is where the hottest women in Brazil are. So Mark right now is living it up. Do I live in the States? No, man. I've been out of the States for 2.5 years now. I've been living abroad. It's funny because like there are people who like accuse me of not like practicing what I preach, but for me, it's like fundamentally, it's not that like I was in love with the passport bro life, and from like creating a TikTok. I literally have this amazing life that I'm able to have because I'm traveling abroad, and I want other men to do the same thing. So everything that I say, I do. You know what I mean? So I mean, there might be some lines that are gray or whatever, but um, anyway, you'd rather us be here or YouTube, Paulie? That's a good question. Right now, I either or, but I appreciate that. I appreciate the consideration. Um, yeah, building out the YouTube um, is a big priority, but the past few lives that I've had just have not popped off at all. And right now, what I'm kind of hoping is like my goal right now is I want to have a live with 100 simultaneous viewers. That's kind of my goal right now in my life. So, um, we can all stay on TikTok, which will increase the TikTok numbers. Anyway, thoughts on how to make the most out of a Vietnam trip, Da Nang and Hanoi. I've never been to Hanoi. I've been to Ho Chi Minh City, um, and Ho Chi Minh City was great. Da Nang, I think, is one of the most perfect cities on planet Earth. I would 100% move to Da Nang tomorrow. There are just some logistical issues that are stopping me from doing that, but I absolutely love Da Nang, and I highly recommend Da Nang. So advice on how to make the most out of a Da Nang trip. Honestly, man, like I think with Da Nang, it's. I mean, you obviously want to go see Hoi An, but Da Nang is a place you can literally just walk around and just like constantly find good restaurants, find good places to go to the beach, you know what I mean? Every day in the beach, there's beach volleyball games. If you're going as a solo, I recommend, being very upfront, being very personable with people, being very outgoing. Just join the games and play some volleyball with people, and you'll make friends almost instantly. People are not in Da Nang. I think this is something that this is like a big mental issue that I think a lot of travelers have at first. We're like, when you're in like America, everyone has their clique, everyone has their group, and everyone's like confined to their group. And like your group of friends that you had back in third grade is the same group of friends you have today. You know what I mean? And there's this thing of like you can't enter different cliques, you can't do different stuff. People go abroad to meet people and have a good time. So if you're abroad, like people want to meet and hang out with you. A lot of people are nervous. They're like, because you're not like cool in the States, but like a lot of the coolness in the States is based upon like weird stuff that isn't actually related to whether or not you're cool. And being cool abroad is literally just being the type of person to go up to a beach volleyball game and just being like, "Yo, I'm in on this." You know what I mean? I made some of my best friends by joining beach volleyball games. Can you go visit Uruguay? I'm on it, man. We're planning on visiting Uruguay in March. You should make more videos on how to manipulate and fight with Latina girlfriend. I want to make a lot more videos about that, to be honest with you. Um, I made a video about it a while ago that really popped off. But then the subsequent videos that I made didn't really catch that much fire. I don't know why. And so I just kind of laid off of it. Like I don't change what I say based upon what the algorithm says, but I will a lot of times make videos based upon what's popping off and what's not popping off because that's what the audience wants to see, right? So people for some reason just weren't interested in those videos, but I can make another one of them soon, and we'll see how it does. I also I really want to talk about Asia more than I am, but for some reason nobody's interested in my Asia takes. I don't know. Maybe I just haven't found the right hashtag. Best country for SEX tourism. Thailand is probably the best one. What do you think about Hinge? Um, so the problem with Hinge in foreign countries is that like you want to maximize for women that do not. So when dating in foreign countries, you want to maximize for women who are not Americanized. Does that make sense? Like you want to date women, and the criteria for who you date should be how far away they are from American culture, right? And the problem with Hinge is that Hinge is such a niche dating app that the only people that you're actually going to meet that are on Hinge are Europeans, American women, or very wealthy women in the countries that you're in who are undoubtedly going to be really stuck up and have like really weird standards and also be kind of feminist, also, right? So I don't have any problem with Hinge per se. It's just that all of the people who you're going to meet on Hinge in foreign countries are not the types of people who you want to meet up with. In America, Tinder has kind of turned into just this like hookup app, which is why people in America don't really use Tinder as much. I mean, people use Tinder, but like it's not like, people aren't really using Tinder to like, have a relationship anymore, right? But you have to realize that like, you know, people are using it for that in other countries, right? So if you're traveling abroad, you should definitely just use Tinder. There are all these like passport bro apps that are coming out right now. Um, and you guys will know that I really sold out when I start hawking one of these because like I think all the passport bro apps are stupid. It's like Tinder exists. All the women are on Tinder. You know what I mean? Like there's no reason to download another app. Like it's there. The problem has been solved. You know what I mean? Haven't been to Indonesia. That's one of those things I have to say yes and no. I've been to Bali. I spent 2 months in Bali. And Bali's in like really, really Indonesia. And I mean the same way that like Las Vegas isn't really like Nevada, right? Bali isn't really Indonesia. But if you're asking about Bali, if you're asking about Indonesia in order to understand about Bali, yeah, I love Indonesia, and there are a lot of uh, women in Bali really represent Latinas, in my opinion. Really resemble Latinas, in my opinion. They're very similar. Um, Everyone who I've told this to has told me I'm a lunatic, though, so maybe it's just me. But I think that they look pretty similar. Left the UK to live in Brazil. No job. I got a house and no mortgage with my wife. Nice, dude. That's awesome. Brazil's great. Where are you living in Brazil? In Florida, Tinder match quality is not good, but the Hinge quality is way better. Yeah, I mean that is like the important thing to remember is that like there are things that have kind of like passed their prime in the United States that are not past their prime abroad. And one way to think about traveling abroad that I think is like really helpful is you're not just traveling necessarily in space. A lot of times you're traveling in time. You know what I mean? So you're traveling like the places that you're going to have had less technological advancement and less social advancement because of that technology than the places that you're in currently, right? And so, you know, you can kind of take account of that while you're traveling abroad. Where in Rio are you? Um, are you in like Flamingo? Camidos. I don't know where that is. Let me see. Oh, you're out in the boonies, man. You're out in the boonies. I mean, if you like it, like, are you talking about the place that's like north northwest of Nova Iguazu? If I were to move to Rio right now, I would be living in I'd be living in Niterói. Niterói is probably my favorite neighborhood in Brazil. Niterói or uh Vila Velha. Those are my favorites. Omar, I recommend looking into Vila Velha, Brazil. Vila Velha is a good time. Any other questions you guys have? Where should I go as a black man? I have a lot of videos about this. You know what I mean? Like you can go view one of those videos. Um, I don't really know. I'm a white guy. You know what I mean? Um, where are you living right now? And how do you sustain yourself? I'm in Bolivia right now. Me and my wife got here on Sunday. We just kind of travel around. Right now, so I just quit my job to do TikTok full time. So how am I sustaining myself? I have no effing clue. We're gonna figure that out. That's gonna be our little adventure. But speaking of sustaining myself, if anybody here is interested in the Cartagena group package, where we're gonna create a custom trip to Cartagena for you, this doesn't really seem like the crowd that'll be into that. But if you are, here are all the things that you have, and the link is in the bio. We're gonna find a heavy concentration of Russian girls outside of Russia. Um, I don't know, like Moldova. Like, are you looking for like girls that are specifically Russian, or are you looking for a girl like that looks like Russian girls? Because if you're looking for girls that look like Russian girls, you can go to the state of Parana in Brazil. Um, like they are ethnically Russian, but like they're not like Russian in any like real sense. So here, let me show you. Um, at source. Yeah, I mean, one thing that's nice for us is that like I am making a lot of money from this TikTok right now. We're just trying to hope to turn it into something that I can like make money in long term. All right, so this is the state of Parana, Brazil. Um, so j- j- just to give you guys some like basic Brazil geography, and here I'll do this. Thanks, man. All right, so this is the state of Parana, Brazil. By the way, you guys can see that I'm actually in Santa Cruz de la Sierra. A lot of people don't think I actually travel, which is like a weird thing for me right now because I'm like, do you not see all my videos? But anyway, so here's the state of Parana in Brazil. Do you guys see it? Um, there are basically like five five or six like southern states of Brazil. This is Rio Grande do Sul, state of Santa Catarina, Parana, Sao Paulo, state of Rio de Janeiro, and a state of Espírito Santos. State of Minas Gerais is kind of it also, but that's kind of on the edge. So the south of Brazil, like this is kind of an important thing to realize about Brazil. Um, ethnographic map. And I'm pretty sure everybody who is on this live has seen this video where I talk about this because it's by far my most successful video. But here's an ethnic graph of Brazil, right? So you just saw those six states that I talked about. That's right over here. These are all white people, right? Over here in the north, it's more mixed people. And then over here, you have your indigenous people. And then now you have a couple of states here and there that are primarily black people as well, right? So within so the reason for this is something called the branqueamento, which is a policy that happened in the early 1900s, where the Brazilian government basically what happened was Brazil was this giant like mine for resources by the Portuguese government, right? And all of the rich people in Brazil were white European people, right? But all the slaves who were working in Brazil were, either mixed, indigenous, or black, right? And so Brazil got independence, I think it was in 1830. I can double check that. Brazil independence. And it was kind of a 1822. It was kind of like a um of the Revolutionary Wars, it was kind of a pretty bloodless one. There's a lot of like reasons for that, but basically, what happened is that you had this ruling class in Brazil that was primarily white, and then you had the entire population that was black and mixed and was poor, and they were like, "This isn't going to end well for us," right? So what they did was they created this policy called the branqueamento, and they imported people from Poland, Germany, Ukraine, Belarus, this entire area to go to the south of Brazil. The reason why it was the south of Brazil is because the south of Brazil is where all of the actual like farmland and stuff is, right? It's the way better place to be in Brazil is the south, not the north, right? And so if you look at Brazil today, you still have the ethnographic map of Brazil has this entire area who is white and this area that's mixed and indigenous, right? So basically the story of the state of Parana. And so, in each of these cities, you're going to have different cities that are ethnic enclaves of different European countries. And like all the videos that I'm making that are like, here's where you find Czech girls in Brazil, are basically. Does my audio keep muting? All the videos that I make are basically just derivatives of this fact, right? That like one or two cities are where people from Ukraine went to, right? So the answer to the question of like where do you find Russian girls in Brazil? Just look up which of these cities has the highest percentage of people from Russia, and that's your answer. Um, just some general rules of thumb. Curitiba has a huge um, Eastern European population to it. Um, Porto Alegre is primarily like Italian and Spanish heritage, but you're looking at Curitiba, Ponta Grossa, and different area if you're looking for Eastern Europeans. Florianopolis as well is kind of a good one. But the problem with Florianopolis is that Florianopolis has just been overrun with gringos who are looking for girls. So why does the background say 62? Because it's a Cartagena group package. Something else. I do understand how out of context that was a weird thing to say. Hey Paulie, how are you? I'm doing really well, bro. How are you? Is there lots to do in Niterói? Culture, nightlife, dating, food scenes, etc. Yeah, I'm gonna keep on doing the Google Map stuff because I like it. Um, so Niterói, you're the guy from the meme. Which meme am I from? Um, okay, so for people who don't know, this is Rio de Janeiro. You can see from the name Rio de Janeiro, right? um, Rio de Janeiro, most of the people who go to Rio de Janeiro go to Copacabana, Ipanema, and Leblon and just kind of stay in this area. Personally, I think that the best area in Rio de Janeiro proper is this area called Flamingo. It's just close enough to these areas that you can have like a really quick Uber ride there, but you're not going to be filled with like the hawkers and all that type of stuff. But anyway, Rio de Janeiro, um, yeah, I don't know what's up with that, man. I really wish I had an answer for what's wrong with the audio. Um, Let me see. Anyway, so Rio de Janeiro, um, literally translates to the river of January in Portuguese, and the reason for that is because the first Portuguese settlers who came to Rio de Janeiro initially thought that Guana I can never remember this name. Guanabara Bay was a river, right? And they also came in January, right? So that's why it's called River of January. Most of the actual stuff that happens in Rio de Janeiro, people come for, is in this area over here, which means that Niterói, which is right across the bay, is just a really chill place. A good way of thinking about it is if you guys know like San Francisco and Oakland, Niterói is kind of the Oakland to Rio de Janeiro, San Francisco, right? And so there's this beach called Ikarai right over here, and it is just as nice of a beach as anything you're going to get in Rio de Janeiro proper. But the nice thing is there's no hawkers, there's nobody who's trying to scam you, there's no one who's trying to steal from you. You know, it's just pretty dope. Is the audio still good? Is the audio still bad? Can you guys hear me? Ah, fucking shit. Okay. Um. Okay. Can you guys hear me better now? Can you guys hear me better now? Okay. Okay. Cool. So everyone can hear me now. Awesome. So the reason why is because I was just doing too much shit with my internet. But if everyone can hear me now, we're good. Okay, let me back up a little bit. I'm not gonna regurgitate everything, but I'm just gonna do like the broad strokes. Rio de Janeiro, called River of January, because the first Portuguese sailors thought that Guanabara Bay was originally a river. Most people go here. I think you should go to Flamingo instead. But across the bridge, you have this area called Niterói. Niterói colloquially refers to basically all of this area, all the way down to Ikarai in San Francisco. People refer to as Niterói, right? Now, over here, if you guys have ever been to like Santa Monica, so this is basically if you walk down here, it's literally just bar after bar after bar, right? With a beach over here. So it's kind of like exactly what you're looking for. But the beauty of this is because um the the beauty of Niterói is that because it's such a small town, you get basically all the stuff that you kind of want to get from Rio de Janeiro, but without any of the BS, right? So I would 100%, if you're going to Rio de Janeiro, go over here near Praia de San Francisco, Sao Francisco, in Niterói. That's one of my favorite places. Are there any good termas in Copacabana? There are, but I can't talk about it on the live. I'll get kicked out. I'll lose my live permissions. Okay, so I guess I can't simulcast on Twitch then. That kind of sucks. Because if there was a buffering issue, it's gonna be even worse when it's on Twitch. But we're gonna figure that out another time. Any other questions? I got a map up here. We're answering questions. I'm going deep into detail about stuff. So, um, again, sorry about the audio issues. I'm gonna be like you one day. Like, is there actually a meme about me, or are you just saying that like there's a meme that I remind you of? Um, I'm in Cartagena. Do you recommend any good spots? Yeah. So there's a video that me and my business partner created. It's on my YouTube. The fuck? I mean, as you guys see, I now have 348 subscribers. But go to Cartagena, Colombia. Watch this first. So if you go to Cartagena, go go watch that first, and it'll tell you all the places they should go to. How's Cali, Colombia? I haven't been to Cali, so I think Cali would honestly be like one of the nicer places that I would go. If I was going to Colombia right now, having not been to Cali, but if it was like my first time going to Colombia, I would definitely go to Cali. Um, Thoughts on Thailand. I guess this is kind of like a good time to like do a Thailand overview. Um, so basically, Thailand has a bunch of different spots that you can go to. Uh, the first one is obviously Bangkok. I don't really see the appeal of spending too much time. Thanks, man. I'm reading your book, by the way. Ah, man, I appreciate it. Hope you like it. Bangkok is a huge city. I don't really see the point of Bangkok, to be honest. I don't really like. I don't understand the idea of like going to other places in the world to go to like kind of okay cities. But anyway, Bangkok is a huge like nightlife scene. So that's one thing that people love to do in Bangkok is like go to like the nightclubs, go to the rooftop bars and all that type of stuff. Pattaya City, if you see this over here, Pattaya City is kind of like the Reno, Nevada of Bangkok, where it's just like an outlet for people to um, you know, uh do a lot of like pay for play. The problem with Pattaya City right now is that it's really been overrun by Indians, and so a lot of people don't wanna spend time in Pattaya because of just how many Indians there are there, right? The place that I love to go, and it was actually featured on White Lotus, but I went there before it was featured on White Lotus, is this island called Koh Samui. As you see, there are, like, all these bookmarks around here. These are all, like, my favorite beaches in Koh Samui. And so Koh Samui is basically just like it's a really big island is the way to think about it. It's just big enough to like have the infrastructure that you need, to like live a comfortable life. Honestly, like that is why I wouldn't go there 100%. Um, while also like not being too big, like Bali gets a little bit too big. You know what I mean? So I love Koh Samui. I highly recommend it. Koh Phangan is like a 30 to 45 minute um, boat ride. And this is where the full moon festival is. If you're going to, um, if you're going to Thailand, you should go to the full moon festival. Like you should figure out when you should go to the full moon festival just to see it. Like it doesn't make sense to go to Thailand and not do the full moon festival. So that's that. In Koh Samui, typically what you'd find historically would be a bunch of like um, retired Germans and retired British people. But nowadays, you have a lot more families that are moving to Koh Samui. Ironically, a lot of people from Europe are now moving to Asia to escape immigration from Asia to Europe. It's a whole dynamic, but I don't really want to get into it. Then there's also an island here called Koh Tao. I haven't been there specifically. Oh, right over here. Koh Tao um, is like the famous diving island. So if you like to scuba dive, you can go to Koh Tao. Um, some other places that people go to a lot is this island chain. Let me see if I can find it. I can never find it on a map just because I didn't when I went there. Anyway, I can never find it without searching for it. I feel like such a noob. But oh, right over here. I think I found it. No, I'll just search for it. Like a bitch. Why can't I search? Okay. Doesn't let me search. Doesn't let me type. That's weird. Anyway, there's an island here called Koh PP. Can't find it right now, but it's on this side. It's amazing. You need to go there, especially like if you're a dude in like your 20s. Like you need to go to Koh PP. Koh PP is one of the best experiences you're gonna have in your life. Oh, right over here, Koh PP, PP Islands. It's literally just this entire island is just basically a giant bar with people from the ages of 18 to 31 just getting absolutely hammered every single day. It's awesome if you're, 18 to 25. If you're a little bit older, you just gotta you're over it. But yeah, it is one of the most fun places on planet Earth. I highly recommend going there. Um, anyway, Phuket is kind of like the way to think about Phuket is kind of like the Dubai of Thailand. Anyway, um, one of my personal top 3 countries for Latina baddies in Latin America, aside from Brazil. I'm not even sure I'd put Brazil in my top 3. Um, I would say the top 3 countries, if you wanna go pick up a Latina baddie, probably Paraguay, Argentina, and then Peru. Just because everyone else is going to Brazil and everyone else is going to Colombia. So, um, best cities to date and marry in Brazil, South Brazil. The best places to date to marry in Brazil would be smaller cities. So as long as you stay away from Sao Paulo, Campinas, and Rio de Janeiro, you should be fine. So if you want to go to like Curitiba, stay away from Florianopolis, go to Porto Alegre, Pelotas. Any of those cities is going to be a lot easier for you to find somebody who can like date and marry long term. Um, what are the rules when it comes to Latinas? I need to I need to I need to come up I need to write a book called like the 10 rules of dating Latinas or something like that. I already have the book like how to find your Latina wife, but like a rule specifically about like what to do and what not to do when dating Latinas. I think that could be another bestseller. Thoughts on hookups and dating in the Philippines? Yeah, I mean, you can do it. One thing that I think is one thing that I think is very different, like passport bro stuff gets like really lumped, like a lot of stuff gets lumped in together with passport bros. And a lot of things, a lot of things are different, kind of get lumped together. And so um for example, there's this like constant stereotype that passport bros, the girls are only dating you for your green card, they're only dating for you to support them, and then they're going to leave you the second that they can, right? And this is actually two different stereotypes put together. And I don't think it's as much of a risk as people think it is. So the first stereotype is like the woman leaving you when she doesn't need you anymore. That's more of a Latina stereotype. Filipinas don't really do that as much. Filipinas kind of made for life. That being said, Filipinas um, are like the dating and marriage in the Philippines is definitely a lot more transactional than it exists in Latin America. Like you'll find in Latin America, obviously there's a lot of transactional relationships, but if you're genuinely looking for like a good Christian girl you can settle down and marry with, like you can find that in Latin America. It's possible. I did. But like in the Philippines, most of the women that you're going to meet are looking for somebody to like take care of them in that specific fashion. It's one of the reasons why so many of the guys who go to the Philippines are like, you know, 45-year-old white guys, right? Um, what's the price for the Cartagena trip? It's 1250. 1250 includes all of that. It does not include dinner, drinks, girls, and your flight. Everything else it includes. Filipinos are fun. Yeah, Filipinos are really fun people. Um, but like, everything has two sides to it. You know what I mean? You're doing like trip planning. Yeah. That's my um that's my idea on how we can make money from this. I don't really like the idea that much um of me like selling sponsorships and stuff. Because, like, one thing that's really important to me is that, like, people believe that I'm saying stuff because I believe it's true, not because I'm being sponsored or someone's like paying me to say it. So that's kind of my big issue with getting a sponsorship or something. But with the Cartagena group package, like I'm putting this package together because I legitimately believe that the person who is going to be leading this trip is going to give you the best 6-day trip of your entire life. Right. Like I legitimately believe that the trip that we put together, you're gonna be thinking about this trip until the day you die. So you know, I feel a lot more comfortable making money that way than like making money by being like, you know, this is the app that I use to learn Spanish. Oh, did you use that app to learn Spanish? No, but I think you can. You know what I mean? It's just like not, it's a little bit more underhanded to me, and I really like that. So anyway, yeah, so this is our first trip that we're planning. It's Cartagena. Our Cartagena packages are just gonna be like boats and hoes. That's what people are interested there. But we're gonna be coming out with some other trip packages once this pops off. We're gonna be doing, some Peru packages. We're gonna be doing some Argentina packages. I have a Thailand package that I'm working on right now with a friend of mine. This is a package I'm really excited for because this guy literally quit his job last year and moved to Thailand and has just had like the most amazing personal transformation from living in Thailand for 12 months. Like the type of transformation that everyone kind of wishes that they had if they were able to move abroad. And so what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be taking like that and distilling it into like 2 weeks and try to give you like a shot in the arm of that Thailand experience that he had. So, that's TBD. Um, it's gonna be a little bit more expensive, to be honest, than the Cartagena package, but we really want it to be kind of like a wellness retreat slash party experience. So, yeah, Venezuela package. I just talked to my wife about that. We're gonna be doing because like she has family um, all over Venezuela. So we're gonna be doing a Venezuela package too once we're able to. So I'm really excited for that. Um, so yeah, we're gonna turn this into a whole business, which I'm excited for. I appreciate you guys like being supportive about it. Like I've had some trolls who like attack me for talking about the package. I really try to talk about the package as little as possible. Like I try to talk about it like once or twice an hour. I think that's fair because I know that guys are not coming here to learn about my trip package, but I think it's also fair for me to talk about the package. But I have trolls who are like attacking me, like I can't believe you're trying to make money off of your account, and I'm like, sorry, I'm trying to like support my family. But anyway, boats and hoes, I love it. Man, I love your videos. I'd be down for this. Yeah, dude. So click the link in the bio, fill out the form. I'll reach out to you. We'll get some we'll set up a conversation about it and we'll get it done. I'm also going to create like an email list where I'll be like constantly telling people about new stuff that we have coming up. So, can I see the mansion? Um I don't think I have like pictures of it on standby, so I apologize about that. Um, do you have any videos of your package and what it entails? That's a good question. So the answer is no, and the reason is because this is the first package that we're doing, so we don't really have any videos from the package. Like we have some videos of like the yacht and stuff. Um, that being said, the reason why it's 1250 is because this is the first package that we're doing. We've done the numbers and like we like reverse engineered a lot of the other travel packages that other people are doing, and they're making like a 90% margin on some of these packages. It's insane. Like they're making 3 to 4x what we're making for our packages. So we're going to be increasing our prices a little bit for future packages. So the reason why it's 1250 is because it's our first package. So we're kind of like taking a um be careful if you document it. Red Beer Rants did something and they pulled a gringo going home. I I I I don't know what that means. Um anyway, how does your wife and her family feel about the US attack? She loves it, man. She absolutely loves it. Will I be present during the trip? A lot of people ask me that question, and like I just want to be honest with you guys. So first of all, like I'm not gonna be present on the trip or the future trips. But you also don't want me to be present on the future trips. Like I'm married now. Like I'm boring. This guy though is the guy who's living like the Cartagena experience, right? So like this is the guy who's actually doing the stuff, living the life that you want to be living. So you're gonna have a lot more fun with him than you would have with me. I promise. That being said, like maybe we'll do like a video call or something. I don't know, or like I can be present on like on like other trips in the future. But trust me, you don't want me on this package. You're not gonna have a fun time. Seem like a super chill person to just chat and have drinks with. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I like to think I am, but what about flights? Flights are on you. Tokyo package would be a lot tougher. I don't really know a lot of people who really know Tokyo well. Like the crucial thing for this for me is that like so with me and traveling, I'm somebody who knows a little about a lot of places, right? And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to connect you guys with the people who really know all of those places that we're talking about, right? Like I want to connect you guys with like the Cartagena expert, which is what I did. I want to connect you with like the Bangkok expert, which is what I'm going to do. I don't really know who that person is in Tokyo, to be honest with you. I'm gonna try to find that person, and when I do, I'll let you guys know, and I'll put that package together. But right now, I just don't have the infrastructure to do that. Is Asuncion still your number one city in Latin America for most bags or somewhere else? To be honest, like I feel bad about this. This is like one of the problems with TikTok is that like I um I'll make a video like a month or two ago, and then like the situation changes, and like that video is still up. So no, Asuncion right now is kind of cooked, honestly. Bro, flying to Cartagena is $300, 100%. Yeah, dude. I mean, if you guys, as part of the group package, want to have a group call with me, you know, I'll have a flip Michigan package. Yeah, dude, let's do that. Let's do a flip Michigan package. So I have a buddy who is like my Asia expert. This guy has been living in Asia for like 12 years. So once I start building out my Asia packages, he's gonna be helping me find the right people. So he'll be there, and like we're gonna find someone to do Tokyo. Um, Thoughts on Montenegro? That's a question that I don't get a lot. I spent a week in Kotor, Montenegro, which is like one of my favorite cities on planet Earth. It's one of the most beautiful places I've ever been to. So I highly recommend you guys go to Kotor, Montenegro. And by the way, one last thing about the packages before I start answering like other questions. Um, Sign up using the link in the bio. Just fill out the form, and like I'll reach out to you. I saw two people fill out the form, but would love to get some more people filling it out so we can get this package sold out already. Um, anyway, what changes suits you on the economy? Yeah, so they're too big. They're like three big forces at work that have kind of made Asuncion not as good of a place as anymore. The first problem with Asuncion is that overall American currency has just been debasing itself over the past year. This is a conscious move by Trump in order to help American manufacturing, right, be competitive internationally. But it does mean that your dollar goes way less far in Latin America than it did a year ago. Now, you don't have as much of this issue in Asia because Asian countries have just been debasing their currencies even more. But Latin American countries have this like ego trip where they want their currencies to be like stronger than the dollar. So they haven't been debasing their currencies. So our currency has just been plummeting in comparison to pretty much every currency in South America, right? So that's number one. Number two, you've had a lot of gringos moving into Asuncion that have made it a lot more expensive. I don't want to say it's because of me. Maybe some of it's because of me. Most of it is because of um, they they have a lot of great like tax systems for gringos to incentivize them to move there. You know, residency laws, like tax haven stuff. A lot of crypto people love Asuncion for that reason. But because of that, you've had a lot of wealthy people from around the world moving to Asuncion at the same time, which obviously drives up the prices, right? And the third is that Asuncion just historically has been kind of like, if you guys know about Cyprus, Cyprus is basically like a money laundering operation for Russia. Asuncion is kind of like that, but for Brazilian drug dealers, right? One thing, even last year when I was in Asuncion, is that the price of real estate in Asuncion doesn't really match the price of normal things, if that makes sense, right? Like, you know, there isn't like a one-to-one ratio or whatever, or like a specific ratio that I would say, but like, you know, if you're paying $600 a month in an Airbnb in a place, you know, you expect to be paying, you know, 5, $6 for a meal, right? Asuncion, it was like you're paying 3, $4 for a meal, but you're paying $1,000 for a place. And that's because a lot of the apartments in Asuncion are used as vehicles for money laundering for, you know, Brazilian drug dealers, right? And so these three forces together have basically meant that Asuncion has gotten a lot more expensive for gringos over the past year. Uh, do you think it's a bad time to visit white countries because of the whole re-immigration thing? By white countries, do you mean like Europe? What's the best place for fun in Europe? So the best place to go in Europe is the airport to leave Europe. Care for the bitches, stay for the global economics lecture. Honestly, like I'm not gonna lie, I kind of view my channel as kind of like a Trojan horse to kind of like, you know, incentivize you with conversations about women and then be like, all right, so here is the history of, you know, the Argentinian, you know, then go on a esoteric rant that I find interesting. More realistically, it's like that's the stuff that I find really interesting. So, you know, a little bit for you, a little bit for me. Um, yeah. So like the remigration thing and the hatred towards Americans are two different phenomena, right? Like they're not like the people who are angry at foreigners and talk about remigration in Europe are not going to be angry at like Americans who are visiting there. The people who are angry at Americans visiting there are actually the people who are bringing in the immigrants. It's actually like, you know, it's an interesting thing. Um, why does Europe suck? Um, I mean, Eastern Europe is a little bit different, but I think it falls in the same category. But like the reason why Western Europe sucks is pretty simple, really, is because Western Europe hasn't grown economically in the past 15 years. And places it's the only place on earth that hasn't grown economically. They're resting on the laurels of their great grandparents of stuff that they did, while also talking about how much they hate what they did. Western Europe, a lot of those countries have higher, like tourism is a higher percentage of the national GDP than places like Thailand, right? And you're basically visiting like a museum, right? When you go to like Paris. Paris isn't a real city anymore. People aren't doing things in Paris, you know what I mean, or like London or anything like that, right? So it's really overpriced. People are depressed, people are angry. I don't know, why would you wanna spend your time there is my question. Thoughts of Vietnam. Vietnam is one of my favorite countries to visit. Um, like, if you were to ask me what country should I go to, the answer would be Vietnam. Wow, that's a solid take on Western Europe. Thanks, man. I have a much longer Western Europe rant that I might, you know, uh, publish. All right, sorry. So Mark Anthony asked thoughts on Montenegro. Looks like a paradise. It is kind of like a paradise, Montenegro. The problem with Montenegro is that you need to. No, I'm not. You're not gonna be a guest, man. With Montenegro, like it's one of those statements that people are gonna clown me for, and it's like if you never travel, you don't realize how regular of a statement this is. In Montenegro, like there are these small tourist areas, and you're kind of confined to those areas because you step one foot outside the tourist areas, nobody speaks English, which kind of sucks, right? And like, so I love Montenegro. Me and my wife were talking about moving to Montenegro legitimately, but then we were like, so we're gonna just learn Montenegrin. So like our kids are gonna have to speak English, Polish, Spanish, and Montenegrin. That's just excessive. Um, and we are 5 and spend less than 3.5K. If you want to party, then go click on the group trip package. I'm not even promoting it. Like that's just a smart thing to do. Um, they speak Serbian, bro. Lol, you're lost. Okay, bro, you got me. You know what language they speak in Montenegro over me. You're so cultured. You're so smart, man. I actually think they speak Montenegrin. Yeah, dude. They speak Montenegrin in Montenegro. They don't speak Serbian. Yeah, dude, like me saying I'm gonna move there are different levels of moving there. There is me moving there and like having an apartment picked out, and like the last minute deciding not to move there. And then there's me and my wife walking through Montenegro and being like, "Oh wow, this place is gorgeous. We we should move here." Like that's what I was talking about. What language do they speak in Montenegrin? In Montenegro, they speak Montenegrin, bro. Like, come on, bro. Tell me about this package. Yeah, dude. Google says your cap. Yo, Mr. Carrot, I appreciate that. Yeah, dude. I mean, to be honest, like I kind of spent a lot of time talking about the package, and like I'm really trying to like respect people's time and not just constantly be promoting stuff. Uh, so if you guys just give me a second, and like I'll move on to like the other questions. Yeah, they are pretty multilingual, but they don't speak English in Montenegro outside the tourist areas. At least the areas that I've found, they don't speak English at all. Our cab driver didn't speak English, which was kind of crazy if you think about it. But yeah, the package basically it's my buddy who like is living the life in Cartagena, and you'd be able to live basically like him in Cartagena for a week. You know, you have a private mansion, catamaran trip, ATV, breakfast, lunch, in-house massages, all of this stuff. It's 1250. It includes everything except dinner, drinks, women, and flights. Cordoba or Rosario? Um, it's a tough call, man. It's a tough call. I'd probably pick Rosario if I were you. Um, but both are pretty good options. Rosario is nice because like it's in Cordoba, along with Serbian, Croatian, Albanian, and let me guess, you want money up front. Well, Yeah, yeah, I do. If you're planning on going on my group trip, yes, I want money up front because we have to rent the Airbnb. That's money that we have to pay. We have to put a down payment on all the activities. That's money that we have to pay. We have to put a down payment on the yacht. That's money we have to pay. We're paying all that money. Obviously, you put money down up front. That's ridiculous. Um, bro, it's literally a package you're paying for. Exactly. You think Venezuela is gonna be the next stop? No problem, just asking, bro. I mean, the law made it seem like it was a problem, but it's fine. Down payment on the girls. um, so one thing about Argentina, so I've been tracking this really closely, is that Buenos Aires is still, and everybody take note of this. This is really important. Buenos Aires is still very expensive in Argentina, but other cities in Argentina have started to become a lot cheaper. So if you're planning on saving money abroad, Argentina outside of Buenos Aires is now a good option again. Um, my wife's brother-in-law is in Cordoba, and he was like convincing us to like move there. And he was telling us that the groceries were really cheap there. And I was like, I don't know, like I don't really believe it. What does cheap mean? And so I went to Rappi, which is like the food delivery, service in South America, and I ordered groceries. Well, I didn't like actually order them, obviously. I just like filled out the thing, and it was like really cheap. So, by the way, that's a good place if you want to find out how cheap a place is. Go to like download Rappi or download whatever the local app is, and do a grocery store like checkout of a supermarket and see what those prices are. Don't base it upon the restaurants because you'll have a selection bias a lot of the times where the restaurants that are on the apps are inherently more expensive than the local restaurants that you can find. But when it comes to the supermarkets, that's going to be standard across the board. So, have been to Ecuador? No. The rapid thing is a good idea. Yeah, man. I've come up with so many different ways to like make sure I, save money. Why South America over Asia? I don't think I ever said South America over Asia, did I? I think there are a lot of great reasons to go to Asia over South America. Never been, but I feel like Lima, Peru is the best big city in Latam with little fluctuations. It depends on like what you're looking for. If you're looking for a city to visit for like a week, I would not put Lima, Peru in my top, you know, in my top 5, to be honest with you. If you're looking for a city to live in, Lima, Peru is probably number 1, I'd say, in Latin America. So it's a question of what you're looking for, right? Thanks, man. Bido just said that my video on South America versus Asia was a really good breakdown. I appreciate that. Um, how's Ecuador? I've never been. I married a Latina. That's true. I also like one thing that kind of pissed me off is so we were in Asia for 5 months, and I kept on trying to put out like Asia content, and no one was interested in any of my Asian content. It's just not. No one was interested about me talking about Asia, so I've just kind of decided to just talk about Latin America. Like my like I'll put out like I'll put out a video about Latin America and like a successful video and it'll get like 250, 500,000 views, and then I'll put out the same structured video about Asia like 5,000. So I don't know what it is. No one cares about my opinions about Asia, I guess. As a Peruvian, I agree. Lima's like wine, get better over time. How crucial is being fluent in Spanish when dating in Latin America? I'll say this: if you're going like when you start going to Latin America, you don't need to know Spanish at all, really. I would go even if you don't speak any Spanish, and then use the fact like I I would go on a trip, not knowing any Spanish, date girls, realize that obviously you're not gonna marry those women, right? And then come back to the United States and use that memory as your in order to motivate you to go and learn Spanish. Because people, it's hard to motivate yourself to do things, right? And one of the beautiful things about going to another country and like having this awesome experience is that like when you're back home, you're like, man, I'm going to learn some Spanish, right? And then what I recommend doing is basically learn enough Spanish to have a baseline to just have a very basic conversation with people. And then once you're able to do that, which is like a huge step in of itself, but once you're able to do that, then you can really start learning Spanish just by talking to people. So that's what I recommend. And by the way, small promo for the trip. This is honestly like why I think that um like doing a trip like this is a really good idea for people because I think long term, you're not going to be spending your time, boats and hoes, on a catamaran in Cartagena, right? But having that memory when you come back to the United States is really going to give you that kick in the butt to find a remote job, to learn Spanish, to do what you need to do to actually move to Latin America. It's 1250. Um, Let me see. Do you think Venezuela will be safe for American travel given recent events? No. People have been asking me about traveling to Venezuela for months now, and my answer has always been the same. Has been you should not go to Venezuela. Um, First of all, if I have not made a video on my channel of me in Venezuela, you should not go to Venezuela. Because if anybody should be going to Venezuela, it's me, right? My wife is literally Venezuelan. I speak Spanish. I have a Polish passport, so I can go there as a not American, right? She has family there. We could easily move around and figure stuff out, but we're still not going to Venezuela because of how dangerous it is. Also, she really wants to go back to Venezuela. So I have a real push factor pushing me to Venezuela. We're still not going, right? So if you have not seen me in Venezuela, you should not go to Venezuela. I hope you can understand people's hesitation to send a complete stranger 1250 for a promise of a week full of debauchery. Not that we don't trust you, but who's the mysterious expert in Cartagena? Um, yeah, I mean, I completely understand people's hesitation. I don't think there's anything wrong with being hesitant about it. I mean, you're asking me about the videos of me traveling. Oh, I mean, just because you're on YouTube. So go to my TikTok, you'll see videos of me traveling all the time. And if you're if you want the reassurance, if you want to talk to him, you can literally fill out the form, talk to me, have a phone call with him. He'll literally do a video call with you of him on his boat in Cartagena. You can be assured that he has a boat in Cartagena. Mexicans love Dragon Ball Z. That's true. How crucial is learning to dance when dating Latin America? It's not crucial at all. Few things I would argue are less crucial than learning how to dance in order to date in Latin America. How much? It's 1250. It's 1250. Um, Try to go to Rio Carnival, but all Airbnbs around 3 to 5K is a better alternative. My better alternative to the Airbnbs in Rio Carnival is not going to Carnival in Rio. You should not go to Carnival in Rio. I made a lot of videos about this, to be honest with you. There are a couple of like soapboxes I keep on getting on, and I'm just kind of tired of being the same horse again. Like you should not do not go to Carnival in Rio. It's a bad idea. It's not gonna be a fruitful endeavor for you. I'm not American. You mean $1,250? Yes. Um, how many years, countries do you think it takes to get a good sense of the world? It depends on your definition of a good sense of the world. Um, like one thing that happens is that, like the more you travel, the more you realize how little you know about places, right? Like for example, before traveling to Brazil or before ever traveling, right? You probably think if I spent a week in Rio de Janeiro, I would have visited Brazil. I would have, I get Brazil after a week in Rio de Janeiro, right? But like after spending 7 months in Brazil, I'm like, I haven't even started to scratch the surface of Brazil. You know what I mean? So like the more you travel, the more you realize you don't really know anything about the world. Um, I send your videos on Brazil to my karaoke friend or karaoke friend, and he said this guy knows more than I do. That's funny. People aren't understanding the gringo tax and how much money they would spend on their own. 100%. Uh, Robert, you don't need to know how to dance, bro. You don't need to know how to dance. Don't worry about it. Well, one general piece of advice I give a lot of gringos about dating in Latin America that is really important is don't try to be what you're not. Don't try to be a Latino. Like you'll never out Latino other Latinos. You're going to Latin America. Don't try to be Latino. You're going to a place full of Latinos. What you need to do is you need to understand the reasons why a Latina would be interested in you as a gringo, and then lead into those characteristics, right? You don't want to try to out dance the Latinos. You're not going to do it. It's not going to happen. But if you can figure out the reasons, and one way you can do it is by buying my book, by the way. But if you can figure out the reasons why Latinas are fed up with Latinos, and then be that thing that they wish they had, then you don't need to know how to dance. You know what I mean? So I don't think learning how to dance, one, it's helpful at all. But two, it's like a mindset that is not helpful in you actually meeting Latinas. The most important part about meeting Latinas is actually being a gringo. The Latinas that are going to date a gringo are Latinas that want to date a gringo. You're not gonna like con them. You're not gonna trick them into oh, I thought you were actually Brazilian. It's like, no. Like the girl that wants to date a gringo is gonna see you as be like, oh, he's a gringo. I don't want to date Latinos because of X, Y, and Z. Does he have those characteristics? And that's how you do it. There's nothing wrong with Rio. It's just there's you shouldn't go to Carnival in Rio. Um, yeah, Froyo's right. Um, I think they appreciate it if you try to learn the language and culture. You shouldn't be gringo. Like, yeah, obviously, like it's a spectrum, right? Like you shouldn't go to Latin America and constantly be telling them how much better America is. Because then the response is gonna be like, well, if you love America so much, like, why don't you just go back there? Right? But at the same time, don't try to pretend to be something that you're not. Show appreciation and love for the culture without trying to pretend like you are part of the culture. You know what I mean? Like and I think this is just a general principle that's helpful in life is just be honest. You know what I mean? Be honest that I am a gringo who likes Latin culture, who wants to be a part of Latin culture, but I understand that I'm not a part of Latin culture. Yep, balance. The gringo the girls who want to date the gringos because the gringos has a ton of money. Honestly, I've had this argument so many times. I don't really feel like having it, but no, that's not true. The girls who want to date gringos is not because they have lots of money. It's because of other much larger issues with Latino men that a lot of Latinas are like really upset about. So that's not true. Is it not one of the biggest festivals? It is, but the problem with Carnival in Rio is that it's kind of become, it's become such a thing that it's no longer what it once was. You know what I mean? It is such a, I think kind of like an example. I'm trying to think of a good example. I can't really think of one. Um, okay, so I'll say this, right? There are no, like, most locals in Rio de Janeiro leave Rio de Janeiro for Carnival, right? The price of everything skyrockets 3, 4x. All the people you're gonna be hanging out with in Carnival are gonna be white people who came down to party, right? So you're not really experiencing Brazilian culture in Carnival. You're experiencing a simulacrum of it, right? You're experiencing, a fake representation that they're putting on for white people to get you to spend money. But like the actual carnival, that's not happening in Rio de Janeiro. That's happening in other places. Yeah, no, I'm sure. Like everything I've heard is that all the other carnivals are really great. So yeah, 100%. It's lit, but it's great. I mean, sure, but I mean, so here's my critique of Carnival. Yeah, it's lit, but like there are a lot of other lit experiences that are a lot cheaper than Carnival and are gonna be a lot more fun than Carnival and less dangerous than Carnival. How about New Year's Eve in Rio? I haven't done New Year's Eve in Rio. I don't think it's a good idea. Um, so generally speaking, but I think that Carnival is a bad idea, unequivocally. Have you seen Timmy Carter? No, who's Timmy Carter? Yeah, yeah, it's a little bit like Mardi Gras in New Orleans. Like what I've heard from people from Louisiana is that nobody in New Orleans goes out for Mardi Gras. They all go for Fat Tuesday, which is like the week beforehand. But like Mardi Gras, it's all just foreign. It's all just people from out of s- out of the city coming in, right? I went with the Brazilian. Like, did you go with an actual Brazilian or did you go with somebody who was born and raised in America and like speaks like 5 words of Portuguese? Who is Timmy Carter and why are we talking about him? I'm not mad that we're talking about him. I just don't know who he is. Um oh, okay. So it's just like every other travel YouTuber. What does karaoke de Gema mean? I've never heard that phrase before. Do you just mean a karaoke? Like I'm asking if the person actually like lives in Rio de Janeiro. No, karaoke de Gema does not mean that. It just mean like karaoke means born and raised in Rio. I've never heard karaoke do Gema, but whatever. Dohema, I guess would be how you say that. bro, like this is so stupid. Like it's like if someone's like, I hung out with a New Yorker born and raised, like, like nobody from New York says, I'm born and raised, I'm a New Yorker born and raised. You know what I mean? It's not a thing that people say. They just say karaoke. Anyway, what are key signs of Latina who's a wife type versus the others? Um, yeah, but it's not what people actually say. People just say karaoke. So if you're saying karaoke de Hema, then like it's like it's this thing. You know what I mean? Um, uh, it's basically this when you say karaoke de Hema. Um, I don't care about your friend, man. I'm done with this. Um, anyway, what are key signs of Latinos a wife type versus the others? Um, by the way, plug for my book. You can find this out in my book, How to Find Your Latina Wife. But I mean, I think a lot of it's just the standard, good girl stuff. One thing you definitely want to do is find a girl whose best friend is her mom. You know what I mean? Like that's a really good sign. Um, you know, someone from a large family, a lot of tattoos is usually not a good idea, obviously. um, and then a crucial thing is you want to see how comfortable she is in certain situations. If she's a little too comfortable, it's like, you know, it shows how many bodies that she's had, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? I saw a video of like this like girl who like this guy who like brought a girl into like his Ferrari, and she knew like way too well, where everything was, like where the seat warmer is and that type of stuff. And it's like you don't want that type of girl. You don't want a girl who knows where everything is, right? And so with Latina, I think one of the best things to look out for is like if she's a little bit too comfortable in your like intimate situations, then that means that she's been a little bit you know, too much around the block, right? You want a girl that doesn't have a lot of bodies. Because like why are you going to Latin America to date a girl with like 50 bodies if you can just, you know, I mean at that point just stay in America. You know what I mean? Any other questions? Um Anyway, what was the question that people were asking about Timmy Carter? Oh, have I seen him? No, I haven't seen Timmy Carter. I need a girl who cannot open the door on a Tesla. 100%. Can I answer a question? Which question did you ask that I'm not answering? I haven't seen any question from you, bro. I'm happy to answer your question because you're constantly on my lives, but if I don't see the question, I can't answer it. Um, Anyway, do you feel satisfied with the places you've been to, or do you feel like you have more to see? I feel like I always feel like I have more to see. Like I can spend my whole life traveling, I want to see more and more places. But that being said, like I'm kind of in a place right now where me and my wife are looking to like settle down. And part of settling down is that like we're not gonna be able to travel as much anymore. That's just a fact. And I've kind of been like, getting okay with that fact. Like I do kind of feel satisfied with all the places that I've been, but you know, if there's a way to make the logistics work very easily, I would love to spend the rest of my life going from city to city, town to town, just like breathing the air of different places and just walking around and just being like, I kind of get this place down. You know what I mean? Like I kind of get, and like you can't get a place until you've been there. You can't get a place until you've been there, until you've walked the street and you see the buildings. You're like, I I I get this now. Even if you've been to other cities in that country, even if you've been to other cities, you don't get it until you really walk around and breathe the air. And I think you need to be in a place at least a week, personally, to really start to get it. Um, a month is ideal, but a week, I think you need to be there at least a week to really get it. Um, that's good. You're settling down, but you've created a movement. You've got to keep 100. You definitely inspired a lot of us. Yeah, I mean, this is actually like a little bit of attention to my marriage. Is that my wife is like way more supportive of me than I kind of want her to be. Where she's like, you can go and travel a little bit, but like me and my wife, since we've met, haven't been away from each other. We've only in the past year and a half, we've spent 5 days where we haven't seen each other, and I wanna keep it at 5 for the rest of our life. So, if I have kids, it's gonna be hard to travel, with just me and her. I'm gonna have to get someone to look after them, or we travel as a family, but we wanna have 6 kids, so that's gonna make it really difficult. But you've definitely inspired a lot of us. Yeah, man, I'm happy to hear that. Um, the thing is though, like, traveling, I think, and this is kind of the important thing, is that like traveling is the means to the end. You know what I mean? Like I think the end goal is the settling down, right? Is the white picket fence on another side of the world, right? With a Latina or an Asian or whatever you're into, right? But the end goal, I think, is always settling down. Is just I think people in America are just not in a place where they can settle down, where they can find the right woman to settle down, and where they've had enough experience and fun to feel satisfied to settle down, right? So what I'm hoping to do is like through me and my wife having, a family, a good life, a happy marriage, hopefully that can keep on being an inspiration to people, but just like a different type of inspiration, if that makes sense. Um, my wife is from Venezuela. How old are you? I'm 34. So one of the things that made me want to settle down is just my clock's ticking. We wanna have a big family, so that's part of it. But 2, honestly, like, when you find the woman that you wanna marry, you just know. You just know that, like, this is gonna be your person for the rest of your life, and, that this was a gift that God gave to you, and that, like, everything else is kinda stupid at this point. You know what I mean? And, like, if you never feel that, then maybe your love is just kind of different. But for me, that was literally my feeling when we started dating. And so I literally I had a date the next day with this woman that was a legitimate supermodel that like legitimately was like on like front pages of catalogs. And like after I met my wife, I was just like, "This is the woman who I wanna marry," and I canceled the date, you know? Once you found her, you don't need to look anywhere else. You don't need to go anywhere else. You don't need to do anything. Your life's here now. Um, What countries are good to go and search for traditional Catholic wife? Um, Latin America, probably. You know, stay away from the big cities, but Cordoba, Mendoza, you know, Bolivia is very Catholic, Ecuador is very Catholic, southern Brazil is pretty Catholic. But again, stay away from the big cities, obviously. They, they're much less Catholic. You're very wise and intelligent for a 34-year-old bro. Be on your years. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Um, a lot of the wisdom that I earned, I earned the hard way from making a lot of terrible mistakes and decisions in my life. But hopefully, we're in a good place now. Someone asked me opinions on China and Mexico. I haven't spent enough time in either of those countries to really have a well-formed opinion, so I'm gonna pass on that question. That's okay. But those are both countries that I would love to go and spend 3 months in. So, that's kind of an answer. I'm 36 and currently in my hoe phase. Whatever floats your goat, man. What goats are really hard to float. So if you're able to float your goat by being in your hoe phase, I'm happy for you. Healthcare in Latin America is pretty good. It's cheap. Um, I've learned way more from my bad decisions than my good ones. Yeah, me too. Um, the problem is when you keep on making the same bad decision over and over again, and you just realize that you're just an idiot. But that's a whole other conversation. Um, all right, it's around 2 a.m. right now. I really appreciate everyone joining. I think I'm going to log off soon, but if anyone have, you know, as a solo traveler, they wants to meet some Asian girls. It's a weird way to phrase that question. Yeah, dude, Thailand is a good place just for pay for play. Do you do paid consults? I love to pick your brain. Yeah, dude. You click on my link in my bio. There's a link for a paid consult, and fill out that link, and we'll set up a time, and we'll do a paid consult. Um, we'll talk also, like, please give me some information about what you want to talk about, because like there are two situations where like I don't really like to charge people, which is one, if they want to know about something that I just don't know it about, like I can't really like help you with that. And then two, like sometimes I'll have people reach out to me and they've like traveled to like way more places than I've ever traveled, that I'm like, I don't really feel good like charging you for this. But yeah, definitely click the link in the bio, fill it out, and like we'll do a paid consult. But anyway, any last questions, let me know. And if not, I'll log off. Just so you guys know, I'm doing this 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern time on TikTok, YouTube, and I'm gonna be doing it on Twitch soon as well. So excited for to keep on doing this. And hope you all have a good night.